So yeah, I've had large amounts of trauma from the time I was born. My mother was pregnant with me, and she was in a girl's home. She was 15 years old, and she was on drugs, and it was statutory rape. And they were going to have an abortion with me, but the church stopped her. With her, there was lots of physical, mental, and emotional abuse. And you're told you'll never amount to anything. That's what you believe. The one person that I'm supposed to look up to protect me hurt me the most ever. It's been a long, long journey of healing.
We've all suffered trauma at various times in our life, whether it's the death of a parent or a divorce or alcoholism in the household, and recognize that there are some households where there's a lot of trauma.
Trauma is the response to a deeply distressing or dramatic event that overwhelms one's ability to cope.
Being trauma-informed is essential to addressing the negative consequences that have come from trauma. And if you're not trauma-informed, then you're not going to improve your own systems and outcomes in the community.
There's 3 different types of trauma: acute trauma, complex trauma, and chronic trauma. Acute trauma is more like one stressful event, things like a car accident or something where there's a quick start and end that is still traumatic, but it's not ongoing. And then complex trauma is that results when there's repeated stressful events over and over, and there's different layers of traumatic stressors. When a child has chronic trauma or they have chronic stressful events that don't go away, it becomes toxic stress.
So it takes people like us that's willing to talk about it, share our experience, and hope that somebody else is going to hear us just at the right time to where they have the right level of willingness to do something about it.
Well, I think there's so many benefits to teaching people how to deal with their trauma, and I think there's a huge ripple effect that can come out of that. If you just look at a family, a parent who's been dealing with their own traumatic experiences chooses to show kindness to themselves and to heal, then their family is going to feel more safe and secure. There's less of a chance of, spreading that trauma out of your own negative coping skills. And then your kids go out into their schools and their communities, and you go into work and you're not triggering people at work through your own anger. I think it spreads from there, and there's limitless possibilities for healing in a community when people deal with their own trauma.
Instead of asking what's wrong with that person, ask what happened to that person, whether that's a child misbehaving in the classroom or an adult involved in the justice system or addiction. And if we can inform ourselves about, well, how can we help make things better, instead of just shaking our head at, oh, it's too bad that happened.
Encourage them to talk about it. Ask them, how did the situation make them feel? A lot of time traumatic experiences make people feel helpless, and in order to give them the courage or strength to even confront these issues, they have to see that even within their helplessness, they have strength and resiliences what have allowed them to go on. And so it becomes necessary to point out the fact that in spite of what you've gone through, you're still here. You're still functioning. I was in a hopeless situation. Being sentenced to life plus 15 years in Georgia is like hopeless. But because of character, prayer, God's grace, people's help, I was able to come out of prison after only serving 20 years. And so I know what it feels like to have those breakthroughs, and I try to repeat that or help others achieve that in their own lives. So that's my driving force. I know what it feels like, feel helpless, and then to see the sun break through the clouds.